Martin, another Merseyside derby comes and goes. Liverpool won it. No change there in the sequence of events over quite a sizable period of time now. Sean Dyche, though, Everton manager, unhappy that Liverpool defender Konate escaped a second yellow card at 0-0 in the second half for fouling Beto. This was after Ashley Young had been sent off after 37 minutes for a mistimed tackle on Luis Diaz. And Dyche got himself booked. The whole thing kind of went up in smoke, didn't it? And thereafter, Klopp substitutes Konate. This was Dyche in it.
I've asked the referee. He said he didn't feel that it was a bookable offence, and he felt that straight away. I don't know what is then, because I'd like to think there's a lot of fair-minded people in football, and I think people who are here today would be stunned. Oh, that's not a second yellow. I don't want to talk about referees, especially in games like this, and it's rare. I can't remember the last time I spoke so openly about referees and decisions, but that one's incredible to me. I mean, I got a yellow card. I don't even know how I got a yellow card. It was like a near impossibility. I don't know what for just literally gesticulating like everyone in the stadium was probably thinking, well, the Liverpool fans have got away, well, our fans are going crazy, going, what's going on here? And you get a yellow card for that. I mean, that's just. Look, I mean, you know what it's like. I end up getting in trouble. I shouldn't get in trouble because I think we should be allowed to speak freely if they have an off day. The officials, I think we should be able to. But anyway, I would get in trouble, so I'm not going to get too involved in it. I think I'm trying to be fair about it and just telling what everyone else probably thinks. Because it's anyway. Look, how that's not a second yellow is nearly impossible, I think, in the modern game.
So Sean Dyche saying, "Nah, this just was not on the decision making regarding that challenge by Konate." And yet Konate stayed on the pitch. Martin, you've been in that situation on many occasions. Do you sympathise with Dyche in his disbelief?
Entirely. Absolutely entirely. I extraordinary. Watching the game, thought, well, if the referee has sent off Ashley Young for the two bookable offences, then Konate's got to go. He's got to go. It's really as simple as that there. And I don't understand what the referee was thinking about really at the time. And I'm quite sure now, in retrospect, that the referee must think, well, why did I think that this wasn't a bookable offence? Getting back to Sean Dyche, I would have been apoplectic on the touchline. It's a momentum mover in that sense. You know, Sean Dyche cleared it by saying he thought about, game changing, and then he changed his mind and that there. And I understand that there. You who knows? Yeah. But it should be levelled up. They should have had 10 men each.
Just before we came on air, we said to the PGMOL, Simon, look, this was wrong, wasn't it? Surely Konate should have got a second yellow. And the response we get, as you know, VAR can't get involved in yellow cards, so not a huge amount of guidance from the VAR hub. And that was that. I'm not sure what that tells us. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't get a second yellow card. And then Dyche gets booked.
Well, it tells us that we can't blame VAR for that decision. We have to deal with the on-field decision and ask ourselves a question as to why the referee saw it differently. And Martin, I saw Ashley Young getting sent off. He should have gotten sent off. It's not a debate. The referee's made a mistake. VAR doesn't come into the conversation, so all the VAR dislikers can park it up. And whether the protocol should change, if it's a second yellow card and that decision becomes something that you need to make a decision on, that means that there's got to be more diligence in the VAR room saying, hang on, that player's already on a yellow card, I don't have to involve myself, so it becomes more complicated. But it's a poor decision. The only thing I would say, and it's a difficult one because I don't want to condone poor decisions, but the battle is at the moment in time about regaining some authority for referees and regaining some control over the way the players behave. And the reasons why Sean was given a yellow card is not because the fans in the stadium are gesticulating, it's because he occupies a position of authority. And that means he comes to a different standard than the fans. So when he talks about the fact that I'm stunned that I got a yellow card because all I was doing was what everybody else in the stadium was doing, was gesticulating, but you're the manager of the football team, Sean. You're not a random sitting in a crowd that doesn't affect the outcomes. You're part of the conundrum that referees are trying to get past, which is the culture of respect, making right decisions, all being on the same page, trying to get a better outcome for football. So on that side, I think, well, Sean, don't be silly. On the other side of it, I think...
I think there's a need for that, Sam, the way you've just impersonated what the referee, in my view, should have done, the official should have done. Sean, pipe down.
Yeah. And there's judgment.
He's not getting booked.
There's judgment in that. And again, a subjectivity that comes to pass, and people could turn around and say it's irrelevant of the circumstances. If the referee considers him a person in authority, whether it be a player or it be the captain of the side or the manager of the side, breaching the current protocols or guidelines of how they should behave, they're forced into a situation. I'm also on the other side of the argument because I don't want people everyone's accountable, and referees should be no different. I've been a leading exponent of the idea, not leading, but I've been an exponent of the idea that referees need to be afforded more courtesy and more respect and a bit more value in the game. And given that opportunity that everyone else seems to have, which is the ability to make mistakes. But I also don't want it to go unnoticed. I don't want so when I'm sitting there thinking Sean gets a yellow card for gesticulating through frustration, which Martin says he'd have been apoplectic. If I was the owner of the football club and stadium, I would have probably been apoplectic in the director's box. So is this very difficult balance to strike between wanting to afford referees the courtesy and the respect that position should occupy, and then condoning poor decisions.
Yeah, strike the balance, man.
Sean Dyche's reaction is the most natural reaction in the world for a manager at that time. The most natural reaction in the world. You are in it's a big game. It doesn't matter. It's a game of football of which your job's depending on it. And this is a major decision. And you've seen one of your players sent off for 2 bookable offences. Fine, okay, we're not going to argue with that there. And a similar situation happens. Sorry, absolutely, I'm with that. And it might only be momentarily. And you say, "Oh, listen, I'll get hold of my senses again." But in that moment or two, absolutely with it. And honestly, there's whatever you say, and I take, don't take Simon's point, but I understand what he's saying. Where the referee has to have some sort of control again. The referee's dropped a ricket. The
tragedy of this situation really is that we've gone to a binary choice, right? Which is if you dare have any sort of conversation about anything, the reasons why we're here, the reasons why Sean Dyche got booked for gesticulating, is because go back over the last 10 years and watch the way managers have behaved and watch what they've done, even in the most innocuous of decisions, going absolutely apoplectic because something hasn't gone the way that they think it should have gone. And so we now arrive at this ridiculous situation where Martin's right, where a relatively normal reaction from a manager of exasperation about a decision which is clearly wrong is now meting out a consequence. But it's not really because of that. It's because of the fact that the referees have had to endure the behaviour from managers going apoplectic and players simulating and cheating and creating cultures that referees are the other side of the coin. They're the enemy. They're the ones to be conned. That we've now reached to this point where the situation where Sean Dyche finds himself in is he gets a yellow card for what most people would say, it's not a big deal. He doesn't really need to be given a yellow card for that. A referee could walk over and go, right, zip it, you.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
But you can't do that because we've seen that before. We reached a point, and I'm sorry, I don't care if Liverpool fans don't like it. We saw a situation last year where a referee was pretty much called a cheat by a manager. And that was the point where the refereeing fraternity decided that there needs to be a different way of administering the game. And what happens is you get caught in the crosshairs, and Sean Dyche gets caught in the crosshairs of a body of work that's gone from 10 years of extremely bad behaviour at times that have made refereeing more difficult than it needs to be.
You're going to accept that?
We're talking about singular incident here. At the spur of the moment where you feel as if the world is against you because of what has happened just in 10 minutes earlier in the game. And you feel as if our right should be right at again.
But we're agreeing, Martin.
Well, we are.
But the reasons why you've got this ridiculous extreme reaction is because the referees have now seen for the last 10 years a currency and culture of constant misbehaviour across the pantheon of participants, and now they've got to this ridiculous situation where Sean Dyche is quite right to be frustrated. What do you want him to do? Be sat there, be stoic about it? That's not how football works.
That's not how football works.
But it's been made this way.
No, I also take that point that the referees were at the beginning of the season trying to take control back again, wrest control again from players who are in control of the game. I'm with that. I'm absolutely with that. We're getting back to the point about Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche has been booked for something. He's got a yellow card for something that's almost inexplicable. Getting back to maybe the referee should go over and say to him, listen, I didn't think this was a bookable offence. Sorry, sit down. Yeah, that's possible. But Sean Dyche, as I said to you, I would be apoplectic about it. Have been beforehand. And I'm probably going back 20 years or something like this here. I'm maybe one of the starters of people up and down in the touchline.
Right.
So I listen.
So honestly, it's your fault that Sean's
your fault. The kettle calling the pot.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.